Hey everybody, it is Andrea here at VW Family Farm. I'm outside gonna get a few seeds in the ground. I wanted to take you guys this is a little break from our usual animal content, but we do grow pretty large gardens here on our farm as well. And so I wanted to give you guys a little garden tour this evening. So I am planting all kinds of gardens this year. Raised bed gardens, in-ground gardens that are covered with ground fabric or ground cover. I'm planting in-ground gardens that are not covered, that I'm working in more conventional ways. I am trying it all. I have a high tunnel and I have a lot of things planted not in the high tunnel. So we're gonna see how this year goes. We are primarily a farm that produces proteins, beef, pork, and chicken for people. But gardening is one of my first loves. Gardening is where it all started for us. So whether you see a lot of it on our channel or not, I will always have a love for gardening and I will always show you guys some of that stuff. So I hope you enjoy it as much as I do. I have a lot of new things this year as well. A lot of new things that I'm dipping my hand into, dipping my toe into, if you will. So I'm gonna be taking you guys along for that. So I showed you just a minute ago, these are my tomatoes out here in this garden. I have tomatoes in another garden as well. I'll show you in a minute. And then I showed you I'm planting just a little bit of a row of okra. That's another thing I'm trying to do this year, is really think about as I plant something that in a short amount of time, I'm gonna have to be picking that something. Trying to keep in mind that putting the seed in the ground is just the first step. Make sure you like to eat that thing. Make sure you're gonna wanna plant that thing and preserve that thing, whatever it is. So I'm trying to knock out some things that we don't really eat that well and add in some things that I'm buying at the store. So the next thing is a melon section. So I'm obviously gonna grow watermelons, but more than that, I'm growing these Kajari melons, and these seeds are from a variety of places. I've got some Johnny seeds that I purchased this year. I've got it's just called a Ace pollinator watermelon and a Cracker Jack watermelon. Some of these are hybrids. That's something I'm going to dive into on a later video. Hybrid does not mean GMO. So I think that's confused a lot, and a lot of these hybrids are hybrids because they do well for one reason or another. It's not really something to be feared, so I'm going to be talking to you guys about that. I've grown this before. I just call it the honey melon. It has a long name. Hope you guys can read that. This is a Baker Creek seed. This is a really fantastic little like cantaloupe type melon. A yellow belly. Ben always likes to have a yellow watermelon planted, and I think that's it. So I'm going to get some of these stuck in the ground, putting these over in a place they can spread out, because watermelons are very viney. All of these are very viney. They're gonna spread out, they're gonna take some space. Make sure you take that into account on where you put them in your garden. Next, marigolds. Sprinkle some marigold seeds in around your tomatoes. I'm going down here at the end of my tomato row. These things are amazing for tomatoes. So I have plans to put up an arch trellis or two, but I'm trying to make use of what I already have, and so I had extra of these tomato cages, stuck them on there. I'm going to plant some cucumbers and some vining things that can climb up these. They're round, but I think it'll still work and still look pretty, and trying to just put these to good use instead of them just being piled up all summer. So gonna plant some cucumbers. I'll show you guys what varieties I'm planting of those. So I laid out all my seed packs where I want to plant those. I've got everything from jumbo pink banana squash right here, Mexican sour gherkins, this sweet dumpling squash. And then I've got all of the squashes and zucchinis that grow in like a bush. So those things don't need anything to trellis on. They're gonna grow in just like a big plant it's gonna bush out, but it's not gonna be a vine. It's gonna be more like a bush. So they're gonna be more contained. I'm gonna plant some of those, and then I'm leaving a lot of spots open down at the end of this row, and I'm trying to think of something to fill it with. But honestly, what I think I'm going to do is leave those open and kind of stage plant some things this summer. Maybe in a few weeks or so, I'll plant another round of squash on the other end of this row, so that as these die back, I'll have the next ones coming on. I'm not gonna try to feel like I have to fill every single spot right now. That's what I do. I try to plant everything, and then we just can't eat that much or even give that much away at that time. So I'm going to try to do better about stage planting and planting, little bits at a time, I guess you would say. So as I'm planting these, one thing I wanted to mention is a lot of these things that I'm planting right now, like squashes and cucumbers, you can buy some of these in plant form at like your fruit and vegetable stand where you buy your plants and your plant starts. But it's really not necessary. You can also buy a pack of seeds for a couple bucks and save a lot of money that way. And I know cucumbers for sure. Squash really too. I've had a lot more success planting those seeds in the ground than even trying to start my own plant starts. I know why people do it. It's generally to get ahead of the game, because if I start a plant start inside and then as soon as our danger of frost has passed, I'm planting a plant start instead of a seed, I'm way ahead of everyone else that's planting a seed. So I get that. But cucumbers especially, and squash as well, in my experience, and that's all I can speak to is my experience, do not like their roots disturbed. So they will die on you very easily when you go to planting a plant start in the ground of any of those. If you plant a seed and let them come up on their own, I've just found them to be much healthier and stronger. So I guess what I'm saying is I see the place for that. It depends on what your goal is. My goal is not necessarily to be ahead of everyone else, because I know from experience that there's only so much squash we're gonna eat and then we're gonna be sick of it, whether that's first thing in the spring or whether that's, a week or so, 2 weeks, whatever later. We're only gonna eat so much squash. So that's just my take on it, and it will definitely save you a lot of money planting seeds instead of starts. Okay, one thing I want to say before we leave the squash area is this right here is awesome. I was thinking, should I try to say this for them? No, I can't pronounce it, but you know what? I'm gonna. Macaranoa Warzowska. There you go. Macaranoa Warzowski? We're gonna go with Warzowska. You can call it what you want. It is a spaghetti squash that grows in a bush. It's a bush type. And so spaghetti squash normally grows in a vine, and it just grows everywhere. Just like everything else that's a vining plant. This variety grows in a bush, just like a yellow squash or a zucchini or something. It is so good, and it's so much easier to grow because it's not running everywhere, especially if you're growing, without your ground being covered, because it gets really grassy, and in our experience, sometimes those get really snaky. So this one, it's a winner. All right, I got a lot more rows to plant, but one thing I have determined this year, we used to come out here and we would plant our whole garden in one afternoon, and it was doable. Our garden was a lot smaller back then, but it was doable. But it was tiring, and it was a lot of work, and it was honestly not that enjoyable because it was a rush, and we got exhausted and all those things. And I'm just gardening differently these years, gardening for different reasons and with different methods, and just honestly a different mindset. And so I want to encourage you guys to find your gardening mindset. What are you doing this for? If you're doing this for fun because you want to, which most of us are, most of us don't have to grow a garden, do it as enjoyable as possible. And for me, that means I'm not gonna run out here. I've already done this, planted this. I planted the tomatoes, and I'm fixing to show you some sweet potatoes, and think that was all I planted out here once. Now this is day 2, and I've been out here, let's see, an hour and a half planting these seeds. I'm nowhere near done. I've got lots of empty spaces out here that I need to plan out what I'm gonna plant. If I'm gonna leave them empty, I'm gonna do it intentionally so I can come back and stage plant like I was mentioning. But I'm done with the days of turning everything that's meant to be enjoyable into such a job and turning it into something that is just not enjoyable anymore. So I'm gonna quit for the day. It's evening time. I really didn't intend to garden today, but I really want to get some squash in the ground, and I'll hit this another day. And I want to encourage you guys to do that as well. You're not on anybody's timetable except your own. So if it's pressuring you or something you're feeling like stressed about because you feel like you're getting behind, just take a chill pill, for lack of a better word, and enjoy it. Space it out. Even if planting your garden takes weeks, that's okay. So I want to finish up. I want to show you the high tunnel and what all I've got going in there. And the greenhouse is working again. We kind of let that go by the wayside. We cleaned it up and I used it for a seed starting greenhouse this year. And then we've also, our lemon tree somehow miraculously survived. I want y'all to look at this. It's got lots of new growth on it. So we've got a new pump. Things kind of quit working in here. When you neglect something, things go downhill quickly, and plus things just wear out, honestly. So the pump is working, there is water flowing, and just really excited about the future of this greenhouse. Also, another thing I want to mention, you will see that most of my gardens are covered with ground cover this year. Not all. I have raised beds. I have in-ground gardens that are not covered, but a large part of ours are. It's what we have. I don't know, if I'll always do that, but it sure does make things a lot less labor intensive. And right now, I don't know where you're at in life, but I know most people, regardless of what stage they're in, are busy. We just live in a busy time, and I cannot maintain this much garden space on my own right now with the level of care that I want to, I guess I should say, if they were not, some of them, covered. I just don't think I could keep up with the weeds. I'm just being honest. I just am afraid it would get taken over, and that would be really frustrating for all of my hard work to just be taken over by weeds. So I've put a lot of effort into this high tunnel. I didn't start as early as I would have liked, but I am pretty proud of what I have growing in here so far. It's been fantastic being able to roll the sides down, keep high winds, and just pounding rain off of it. You can control the environment a lot easier. I'm really pleased with this high tunnel. If you know, we got a grant to get this through the NRCS program. That is a government program that anyone can apply for. I believe it's in all states. We would have never probably been able to afford something like this nice, without that. So I don't know if that's, one of you needs to hear that or what, but look into it. It's worth looking into. And depending on where you are, the requirements are probably going to be a bit different. They're into conservation. So it's going to be into conserving and protecting like water supply and things like that. There's a lot to it, but it's not hard. And none of it that we have been, asked to do has been difficult. And it's actually a really easy program, and really, in my opinion, a great program. One other thing, you saw how big some of my greens are in there. I want to encourage you guys, start eating off of your stuff as soon as possible if you're like me, because there's no way we're going to be able to eat that level of lettuces and greens. I'll be sharing those with people, which is a great thing, but start eating things as soon as possible. Don't think you're saving them or whatever. For us, life has just been busy. I haven't made a lot of salads and things lately, but this week is the week of greens because I have a lot ready. So, and I'll be sharing those with other people, things like that. But one last thing I want to mention. So this is the year of the flowers for me. That's just where I'm at. I really have always wanted to learn to grow flowers, and I'm determined I'm going to do it this year. And that's the last thing I wanted to mention. You see, I have some growing in the ground. I planted some today, actually, and I'll be planting more. But I really am such a beginner at flower gardening. And I don't know where you're at. Maybe you know a lot about it. Maybe you're a beginner like me. But I want to mention something I'm doing and encourage and invite you guys to do it with me. Jill over at Whispering Willow Farm and Sean over at The Mindful Farmer, they have put together a fantastic course. And so I'm going to be taking that. I would love for some of you guys to do it with me. I actually have a code to save you $10 if you sign up. I've already signed up. I've got all my stuff printed out, and it's a do at your own pace. It's an online course, but we could do it together. I'm going to be showing you guys some of that as I go along this summer, how I'm going to do it and what I'm going to do, and just honestly how it goes. We'll see how this goes the first year trying to go grow flowers. I want to really get good at it. There is a market for flowers. If you have a small space, that's a fantastic thing you could do to bring in some income. So I encourage you, if nothing else, look into it. Think about it. There's people that make a year's wages off growing flowers, cut flowers, y'all. It is a huge business. I don't know what you think about it. I love flowers. I think there is such a movement of flowers right now. But the fact is, a lot of people love flowers. Whether you're someone who buys flowers or not, there's a lot of people who do. And I just think it's a great opportunity for people on a small space trying to grow something that they can sell. There's places to, market your flowers. That's all in the course. So check that out. I'm going to put a link below to that, and I'm going to put the code down there. And it's simply my name, Andrea, and that will save you $10. So I just encourage you to check that out. It's for beginners, but it's also for experienced growers. I think there's something in there for everyone. I've already been in there looking around, and it's very thorough. Lots of printouts that you'll have on hand. Anytime you're like, what'd they say about that? You can pull up your handouts just simply by the type of flower that it is. I think it's going to be great. And you're going to see a lot more flower planting on this farm for cut flowers, as well as bees love flowers. So I'm going to be doing a lot of things for the bees as well. It's just going to be fun. I'm doing it for fun and enjoyment. And if that's not what this is about, what is it about for us? And so that's my goal for this year, is to, whatever I do, think about why I'm doing it. And if I don't have an answer, probably don't need to be. And if I'm not enjoying it, probably don't need to be. So this is the year of enjoying what I'm doing. Gardening, flower farming, whatever the case may be. Life is too short to not enjoy what we're doing. I'll see you guys later. Thanks for watching and going around the garden with me. And I just hope you have a great rest of your week. See you guys later. God bless.